That's what we usually picture when we think of freeloading.
But in America today, the bigger recipient of handouts is not poor people, it's corporations.
GE, imagination at work.
GE is the biggest industrial corporation in the world. Here's their CEO with President Obama.
Jeff Immelt is perhaps the CEO who is most cozy with President Obama.
And Jeff Immelt was recently named the country's job czar.
I am so proud and pleased that Jeff has agreed to chair this panel.
General Electric is structuring their business around where government is going. So everything from high-speed rail, solar, wind, General Electric is lining up to get what government's handing out.
The New York Times reports that government handed out so many tax breaks to GE, thanks to their fierce lobbying, that despite billions of dollars in profit, they'll pay no taxes this year. Once upon a time in America, companies got money from investors and created wealth by inventing things.
25 years ago, my friends and I started with nothing but an idea.
Microsoft did that. They started with nothing and created billions in shareholder wealth. But then,
Microsoft is free to compete and compete aggressively, but not unlawfully.
The government sued Microsoft for offering people free software. At the time,
Microsoft spent exactly $0 on lobbying. They were busy changing the world. They were busy creating a computer revolution and helping the internet revolution. And for that, they got drawn into court. They spent millions and hundreds of millions defending themselves against the Justice Department. So how much money do they spend today on lobbyists? Hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
They learned their ugly lesson.
We've created a system in which if you don't do it, you're at a competitive disadvantage.
A public-private partnership.
A public-private partnership.
A public-private partnership.
Businesses love to have a partner in government. This little window maker must have loved the attention it got by having the vice president praise its products.
You're not just churning out windows. You're making some of the most energy-efficient windows in the world.
Think getting the vice president was a big deal? Heck, they got the president too.
These workers will now have a new mission, producing some of the most energy-efficient windows in the world.
Other companies don't get so much government help, but this company gave money to the Democrats. And one of their executives was married to an important Energy Department official. It sure is nice to get special government help.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, for your unwavering support.
Left-wing think tanks criticize corporate welfare, but somehow green handouts, they're okay.
Everybody wants to find a better fuel-efficient way to go about their daily business. The government's going to invest in certain companies to pioneer new technologies. That, I think, is not corporate welfare.
The business is too dumb to invest in it without government saying, do this and here's help.
The private sector will only invest if they know for sure that there is a commercial marketplace.
But you say everybody wants these things. Isn't that enough incentive for private, greedy businesses to make it?
The free market does not know anything unless we all collect our interests and say this is of national import to us.
Central planning does not work. It doesn't work in any industry. It doesn't work in any kind of economy.
But since they're going to centrally plan, they'll give out special favors to the politically savvy people who are best at lobbying for them.
Of at least $200 million is needed.
And so the government pours billions of your dollars into projects like the Roscoe Wind Farm in Texas. It's half owned by GE.
Even if this wind farm produces nothing of value, they are getting money from the U.S. taxpayer.
Maybe we don't need wind turbines. Maybe it's a waste of money.
Well, maybe it is, but it should be one thing that we as a nation are investing in so that we aren't left behind.
Some of the cleanest renewable energy on Earth.
GE would not agree to be interviewed. Maybe that's a good thing if it means companies are now getting embarrassed about the handouts. 13 years ago, when I wanted to confront a business about its freeloading, the CEO was so brazen, he flew me to his headquarters in one of his fancy jets.
This is gold. This is gold-plated. Can you get you anything else?
At the time, this man was the biggest recipient of handouts, Dwayne Andreas, CEO of ethanol maker ADM.
You're a pig feeding at the welfare trough.
Why should I care?
Doesn't bother you.
Not a bit.
Many beneficiaries of corporate welfare really believe that they're being paid to help the country. What I'm providing is so good that it ought to be subsidized.
Unfortunately, a lot of American companies have become mooches off the government. And they go to the government to manipulate the system in their favor. That's what not business is about. That's not what capitalism is about.
But today, unfortunately, it is a way for capitalists to freeload. Businesses do it, and rich individuals do it. People like me.
Coming up, the group that politicians have helped the most. What has freeloading done for them? Nothing good. No group in America has been helped more by government than American Indians. And yet, some politicians still tell Indians things like this.
Few have been ignored by Washington for as long as Native Americans.
Ignored? Are you kidding me? Look at the signs around this Sioux reservation in South Dakota. Our government has made Indian tribes wards of our state. Government manages their land, provides their health care, their schools, gives them food stamps, pays for housing, child care, even burial assistance. The result?
There is a stunning poverty here. Only 1 in 4 has a job. There is a scarcity of phones, not even any banks.
Indians have the highest poverty rate and lowest life expectancy of any group in America. So the Sioux told us they need more handouts.
The government should be giving the Indian people more appropriations so that we could exist out here still.
I really feel Obama's administration needs to get up to the plate and deal with it.
Because white people stole the Indians' land hundreds of years ago, the government signed treaties. And that's why Washington sends billions of dollars to Indian tribes every year.
Everybody thinks the government owes them something.
It's odd in that no group has been more helped by government than the American Indians, and no group does worse.
Maybe it's the government.
Ben Chavis is a member of a tribe that doesn't get special government help. And yet,
the area where you live looks different from Indian reservations.
There's mansions. They look like English manors. I can take you to one neighborhood where my people are from and show you nicer homes than a whole Sioux reservation.
And this is not casino money, no special deal for your tribe.
Oh, no. In my tribe, we don't have any casinos. We have 12 banks.
Chavis says his tribe does well because the federal government does not recognize them as a sovereign tribe, though their congressman wants to change that.
It's time for discrimination to end and recognition to begin.
Old Mike knows if he wants to stay in Washington, D.C., he has to support the Lumbees or he won't be there.
This is an injustice that, yes, must finally be resolved.
If the congressman gets his way, your tribe would just get $80 million. It's tough to say no to that.
If you want to become dependent on the government and sell your soul for $80 million, I understand that. And some people are willing to do that.
Indian activists like lawyer Elizabeth Homer say the Lumbees ought to get federal recognition. Homer used to be the U.S. Interior Department's Director of American Indian Trusts.
Well, the Lumbees have been neglected and left out of the system and have been petitioning for 100 years for their recognition, for which they're entitled, by the way.
They're petitioning because socialists like you have convinced them to do that.
Socialist now.
They do better without the government.
If I'm a socialist, what does that make you?
Bye. It makes me and Ben Chavis capitalists. And capitalist Indians achieve.
Your Indians are thriving.
Our Indians are working.
The Scott brothers built a company that now employs 16 people, putting up power lines. They didn't get any government help.
It made me drive twice as hard, you know, knowing it wouldn't help us and all. It panned out pretty good for us.
We've just always been hard workers. So that's what that is.
This Lumbee tribe member, Lindsay Locklear, runs one of the biggest True Value hardware stores in the country.
The day after I graduated, the next day I was at work.
The Lumbees are doing well.
Tremendous survivors. A great example of how you can continue to persist under absolutely the worst treatment that you could hope to get.
They do well because they've divorced themselves from these government handouts. They've done well.
Individuals have done well.
Exactly.
Individuals free of special government protection, like Lumbee Jim Thomas, a real estate developer who used to own the Sacramento Kings. Jack